بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We start with the fiqh, inshallah, for a few masail, and then we'll do the qawaid, and then we'll do the al-jazariya and the al-nahw, inshallah ta'ala. In the sharh of Zaad al-Mustaqna, بعد بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We were just talking about the shurut of al-bay'ah, the condition required to fulfill a contract of transaction, which will be conform to the way of the Sharia. قال هنا just few of the shurut that left to talk about, inshallah. The last one we said وإن باع ثوبا أو صبرة أو قطيعا كل ذراع أو قفيز أو شاة بدرهم صح، وإن باع من الصبرة كل قفيز بدرهم أو ب100 درهم إلا دينارا وعكسه أو معلوما ومجهولا يتعذر علمه ولم يقل كل منهما بكذا لم يصح، فإن لم يتعذر صح في المعلوم بقسطه. We have studied this part, but the summary of what we want to know about the shurut, anything in the transaction that leads to is going to lead to dispute, is going to lead dispute because of not knowing the price beforehand, not knowing the quality beforehand, not knowing the right description of the item. Here in this paragraph that we have studied last time, someone he's selling clothes, carries like a pile of food, I'm talking about food, vegetables, things like that, or animals, qatiya, folk of animals. If we say, for example, animal says everyone for example, $100. That's the bay' sahih because it's been defined. For example, the sobra, say every basket, if you fill a basket from this, or every piece of watermelon is for $6. So this is sahih. But if when the information it's not clear, take whatever and give me, take whatever you want and we'll see how much. It cannot work because it's like who's going to have the deal here, so it's not clear. قال أو شاة صح. قال if you say I will buy this, sell you this, with for example $100 except this part. Say which part? So when it's not defined, when any statement in the contract will not be clear, that is going to end up to a dispute, that is forbidden and void the contract. So this is we studied last time. So قال therefore in the conclusion here, anything that is being dealt with need to be defined, which is quantity, fixed price from the beginning, etc. قال هنا وإن باع مشاعا بينه وبين غيره. Now we have another mas'ala case. Someone has an item he owned with another person. باع مشاعا. So we have it, if you have this part. وإن باع مشاعا. If he's selling مشاعا, it means that it is in partnership with someone else. مشتركا بينه وبين غيره. For example, a car, a piece of property, a land. قال وإن باع مشاعا بينه وبين غيره كعبد أو ما ينقسم. They give always the example of what they had at that time, very common into the transaction, say like a servant, but we're talking like a car, a piece of land. أو ما ينقسم عليه الثمن بالأجزاء صح في نصيبه بقسطه. هنا قال or anything, for example, that it can be قال, but let's talk about the mushah. So here, for example, if someone will sell a car, he only have, if he sell the car, the part of the contract that is accepted is the part that he owns. But then, it becomes like the buyer, he has the right to cancel the contract if he knows that he has a partner with him and that partner, he's not aware of the sale. So that part, the first one, he said, I dispose on the part that I own. He said, but here, for a car, for example, every piece of the car is partner in it. So, for example, if you have a quantity of food, let's say dates. Dates, for example, someone invested 2/3, the other one 1/3. Said here you can, when you sell, you can take that 2/3 and you sell it, and keep the 1/3 for the other person. قال هنا فالآن بعت مشاعا بيني وبين غيري. I sold, a property that is owned by two. فبيعي لملكي صحيح. So when you regard, they said, what I have sold, which my part is sound, is accepted as a contract. Why? Because we have fulfilled the condition that this sale happened from your property, your own property. وبيعي لملكي أخي لا يصح. However, the other part, if you want to analyze the mas'ala, and this is someone, for example, say, it was my car, I sold it. So the other person, it was not your car. For example, if they come to dispute, to one of you said, that person said, it was not your car, we own it together. So this is how the answer will be built step by step. He said, okay, the part that you sold, that you own, you have the right to sell it. But you didn't have the right to sell the part of your partner. طيب. قال ليس. Why? Because you say, but it's my car. Say, do you have wakala from him? Do you have, the authority, or did he give you the permission to sell his part? قال إذا فرقنا الصفقة فنقول المشتري لك الآن نصف السيارة. But the buyer, he only say, you only own half of the car, which you cannot use, unless the partner will agree to sell his part. If not, the contract is void. So I said, you didn't have the right. You had the right to sell it, but only your part. But here the buyer will not accept half of a car, unless the owner, the partner, will accept. طيب. قال أو ما ينقسم عليه الثمن بالأجزاء، أي ليس مشاعا لكن ينقسم عليه الثمن بالأجزاء كصاعين من بر أحدهما لي والثاني الآخر خلطتهما ثم بعتهما. If you have, for example, food and you put them together, but for example, you have a quantity that belong to you, the second part belong to the other person, and you put them together. Here, if you sell them, there's a possibility to, because as the food, it can be like portioned. You say, I sold, for example, 10 kilos or like 10 pounds from this food. So I said, and you had, for example, 5 pounds, and I had this 15 pounds. Put them together, this 20 pounds. So it will be like 5 out of 20. This is like, kind of 25%. So what I have sold 20. So they pour it like, they can distribute or like, have the separation based on the percentage of the portion that they start with. Because if they are partner or like not partner, they put the food together to sell it, like if dates, for example. And the one who want to sell, you're not going to ask his partner for it. But even the partner said, I could have sold it with another price. He said, okay, so I'm going to take my part and then give you yours. So here there's the way how to put them in portions So you can, make this division and this separation. قال أو ما ينقسم عليه الثمن بالأجزاء صح في نصيبه بقسطه, or the type of items that they can be proportioned. Therefore, whatever he sells, he can take the part, of the portion of his that he will dispose in it to sell it, and he will be free, and the contract will be sound in this case. The other مسألة قال وإن باع عبده وعبد غيره بغير إذنه. Here, taking an example, but someone he said you have two items, one that belongs to you, the second does not belong to you, and you sold them both. قال باع عينين قائمتين كل واحدة منهما قائمة بنفسه. So you have two cars, one belongs to you and the other one does not belong to you, and you sold them both. قال then if he sold them both, one of his he had the right to sell it, the other one the contract is void. Is not accepted because he sold something that it does not belong to him. That's why when you have things like that, for the buyer, if he does not know, then he gonna cancel the second car. But the problem, if he knows, then the partner can force him, either if he want to keep, selling the car, but he can renegotiate or, on the price, so that will not be a final price because he bought something that it does not belong. So he had the authority to void the contract of the second car. طيب, this is the مسألة. But here, the purpose of this part is to tell you, if you have even different item, always you have to regard the condition of the ownership. You cannot sell something that is not your own, that you don't own. And if you do, because you have something you own and the other one, like, of your friend that he has it and you want to make a deal, still someone does not have the right. And if he does it, does not mean like he's sinful, but he does it, whatever consequences will be, resulting from this type of sale, one portion is sound, the other portion it has a question mark, but it's not accepted, as a contract, unless the buyer will accept or the partner will accept afterward. Then قال أو خلا وخمرا صفقة واحدة صح في عبده وفي الخل بقسطه. Here, someone is selling vinegar and wine in one deal. قال, here we have something that can be sold. The other one, it does not have value in the Sharia. Wine, it does not have value in the Sharia because it's haram even to sell it. Okay, it's haram to sell it. So we say in the contract, as I said before, we don't look at things like the sin that someone would commit, but we look at this transaction only. So we don't say, how did you get the wine? Why should you, we don't do, get into that issues here. We look at the contract. Someone did it. What about the contract? Say the part of the vinegar is halal. The part of the wine is rejected because it does not even have value in the Sharia. Does not have value in the Sharia. قال فيصح في الخل ولا يصح في الخمر فنقسط الثمن. So we take the part. Say, for example, he made a deal and he sold it for a big deal for $10,000. Said, how much the vinegar in this deal? He said, like 3,000. What is halal to take is 3,000. The rest is not yours. Return it, make away, but that's that part of the contract, because this one is haram to sell it. قال وإن باع صحفي وإن باع عبدا بغير أو عبدا وحرا أو خلا وخمرا. They have a mas'ala which is valid for the generation of the time of the author. Someone is selling a servant and someone is free. He said also this is exactly like the vinegar and the wine. Something halal to sell and something haram. You cannot sell a free person. So the vinegar, which is the example, which is very clear, if you combine two things, one is halal to sell and one is haram, the only part that is halal is the halal one. And this masala that the author mentioned here, because some scholar, there's some opinion, they say the whole deal is haram. As soon as you introduce the haram, then everything is haram. So here in the madhab, they go in details. That's why we said in fiqh that fairness in dealing with the masail. For example, I'll give you the example. Someone stole money, and that money he used it to go to Hajj. Can we say that his Hajj is rejected? Or should we regard this mas'ala divided in two parts? This is exactly how we are dealing here. For the case of the Hajj, to understand this, which is in the transaction, say, what is an authentic Hajj? Is to have the ihram at the miqat, to make your talbiyah, to get to haram, to make your tawaf, to stand in Arafah, to do in Mina, Muzdalifah, Mina, Rajm, and you leave. He did them all right. So how can you reject in Hajj? Because he stole the money. So the answer here, he said what he did is a major sin. But what his Hajj will be regarded, we don't know is rewarded, accepted at Allah, but is regarded. His Hajj is sound and sahih according to what he did as pillars. And maybe after the Hajj, he repent, he going to go back and go to the people who stole from them, ask them forgiveness, give them back their money, and Allah forgive him. So here we cannot issue a hukum which is in the hand of Allah, because we presume that this person is rejected from the rahmah of Allah. So if someone make a deal selling, vinegar, he has a deal. For example, he bought storage, and the storage, it has an inventory. He finds in the inventory a lot of alcohol, and there's other beverage. He said, I'm not going to sell this in my store. I need to get rid of it. And he sell it all. This is a deal. So there's the alcohol is haram, and there's the other beverage are halal to sell. Then he realized he might have done a mistake. He'll come. Said, what should I do? I sold all this. The answer, according also how we analyze the part of the Hajj, and according to the author, we gave the example of the Hajj to just to explain how you have to deal with two separate issues. You're not gonna say all what you have done is haram. Why? Because you introduce your alcohol, then the whole deal is haram. He told you no. You take what is haram on the side because that does not have value in the Sharia. Can you sell nothing? You say, what item do you have? I said, nothing. You're going to tell me how much? There's no how much for nothing. The wine in transaction in the Sharia does not exist, does not have a value. Can someone tell you how much this? I told him what? He said that's meat does not exist. It's haram. So here he say, you separate the deal done in the halal wahed, that's a contract that is sahih. The other one is void. It's void. So that's what he said. قال أو خلا وخمرا صفقة واحدة. Vinegar and wine, one deal together. The contract will be authentic in the vinegar part according to his qist, exactly how he invested in it. The rest will not be accepted. وَلِمُشْتَرٍ الْخِيَارُ إِنْ جَهِلَ الْحَالِ. When it comes to a safqa, there's a deal like this. You come to say, you buyer, you have to know that the contract is void from the seller. He should not have sold you that. Then he will have the khiyar. The khiyar is the option to say, to stop the deal and to reject the contract. قال إن جهل الحال. So we're talking here not about the haram as alcohol, but we're talking about, for example, a car that owned by two people. The buyer, he bought it from the person that he dealt with. Then when he went to get the car, the partner appeared. He said, no, this is, he should not have sold you. I own the car and I didn't give him the permission. In this case, he didn't know. So he had the option to say, okay, I don't want the car. So the first buyer, seller, he does not have any way to force him to continue the deal. Told him, let me, I'm going to convince my partner. He said, no. You weren't, clear with me. You were not, honest. I'm not going to buy it. But if he knows, told me, I own the car, but my friend, don't worry, and the other one won the deal, and he get the car. He does not have the option anymore to void or to cancel the deal, only if the partner will refuse to sell his part. And he might say, the partner said, you sold it to him for 10,000, for me it's 12,000, if not, I don't. So the buyer here, he kind of is going to be like forced because he knew that the one who's selling the car, there's another partner that he didn't hear from. Okay. And this is, subhanallah, kind of, I would say, punishment when people, they don't want to be honest in any deal. Because why he get it from the partner? Why you don't say to them, look, this car belongs to both of you, to another person, I need to have the contract from both of you. But he knew the car is a good deal and he wanted to get it. Because maybe one of the partners who want to sell the car, he's in need of money. He told them, I'll sell you this 8, but in the market it's 10,000. So the other person said, no, you're not gonna get it, only for 10,000. Said, no, I make the deal. He said, no, he didn't have the right to give you the deal. And you knew and you accept, so you're only gonna pay 10,000. So here the Sharia, he's gonna be forced to accept the deal because he knew in first hand that he should not have done the deal. And as I said, the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can summarize the whole book of buyu' and all the transaction in one ayah. وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ صِدْقٍ وأخرجني مخرج الصدق. You enter with truthfulness, very clear, honest. All your transaction will be pure, honest, and accepted in the Sharia. But if someone want to be, crooked and cheat and try to do like kind of deals to get advantage of this deal, he gonna end up by the Sharia being punished. Punished with the deal itself, not punished like in. طيب. قال ولمشتر الخيار إن جهل الحال. So that's what the khiyar. And for the buyer, he has the choice if he didn't know, in jahil al-hal, if he didn't know about this case. We just introduced the next chapter, so we can go to the other topic, inshallah. Here, after the author finished with the condition of the al-bay' al-buyu', the transactions, he comes now to al-mawana. And here, subhanallah, take it as a principle in every deal, transaction, in any aspect in the way of your journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will be undertaken. Always there shurut and there's mawana. The mawana are the impediment. The mawana are the thing that prevent you to not fulfill the transaction or to fulfill the action. For example, someone he listed among the inheritors. He's the son or he's the brother, so he's entitled to have part of the inheritance. So this is a shart. So say, who can be one of the inheritors? You have them, the category of the family, min al-furu'i wal-usul, and you like. So these, you fulfill the shara. Someone came with rahim and told them, you don't have part of it, unless if there is some remaining, it's it. But all this entitled list of people entitled to inherit, you're going to see if there is anything to prevent them to not do it, to not take it. Okay? For example, if there is a person, a spouse, and some people they put, they had a contract of marriage authentic? So maybe a defect in the contract of marriage will prevent this person to inherit. Someone, like we have in Qawaid al-Fiqhiyah, he hastened to get the thing, he plot for that person to die. So he can have a plot to kill the person. So killing, and his inheritors are going to be deprived from the inheritance. Okay. Comes, for example, give you another example in Aqidah. In Aqidah, someone said a word of a blasphemy, of kufr. We don't have the right to say you're not Muslim. Someone commits a sin, big sin. We don't have the right to tell him, for example, or denying, said, I don't believe in the salah, for example. So here you have to see the conditions and the mawana, the impediment. Why he said it? The condition here, you have to show him the evidence, what he said is haram, is void for him the iman. The mawana, check, maybe the person is ignorant, maybe he said it by ignorance. So in every aspect, you have to see shurut and then the mawana. From the shurut, for example, you're seeing someone facing non the qibla and he's praying. To them, you cannot tell him your salat is void, redo your salah. You're going to ask him, brother, you weren't praying to the qibla. Say, I didn't know, for example. So here the mawana, when you're going to do the hukum, there is something that prevents him to not do the qibla, his ignorance. He didn't know. Then what is the opinion to help him to do that? So here the same thing. There is in al-buyu, we saw the shurut, as we have mentioned. Now we're gonna enter to see the mawana. There's a transaction. We fulfilled all the condition, but if there's any impediment, who also will be making the contract to be rejected. So he's starting with something that is all of us we know and important. قال ولا يصح البيع ممن تلزمه الجمعة بعد ندائها الثاني. Selling, making any transaction at the time of prayer, Jumu'ah prayer. So here at the Jumu'ah prayer, قال ولا يصح البيع. البيع, transaction, is not is rejected from anyone who's entitled to offer to observe Jumu'ah prayer. بعد ندائها الثاني, after the call of the adhan, the second call of the adhan. واضح? So how can we explain this? قال أولا, who's the person who will be prohibited on him or on her to do the transaction of bay'ah, of selling, and per consequent also of buying, selling and buying. And we're going to say why he only say the buying part. Buying and selling and buying is haram for anyone who's entitled to observe the Jumu'ah at the time of the second adhan. Let's start with the second adhan first. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they have only one adhan for the Jumu'ah. In the time of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anh, because Al-Madinah getting bigger and there were more people, so he add, and it is the sunnah of Al-Khulafa al-Rashidin, then it is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. He add Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anh an adhan to have people be aware so they can gather to the Jumu'ah. And then the second adhan will be for the khutbah. So here he said the second adhan, so we'll be following the way of the Prophet ﷺ, the second adhan, which was the only adhan in the time of the Prophet. So that's the adhan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال وإذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. Hasten to the remembrance of Allah and leave the selling. Just stop everything and go to the prayer. Al-bay'u, and here there is kind of wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, He didn't say وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ وَالشِّرَى. Daru, leave, turn away, keep away, leave your commerce and hasten to the prayer. So what about the buyer? SubhanAllah, the wisdom here, as one of the scholar of tafsir, he said, because in this transaction, who's the most eager to fulfill the transaction? Is the seller. So if the seller will leave this commerce, then the buyer could not buy. Because if there is a deal, the seller, he wants to finish the deal. He said, hurry up, we're going to have Jumu'ah. So he said, the buyer said, okay, I will come back later. He said, no, we can't do it now. We still have time. So who's the one pushing to finish the transaction? Is the seller. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. He didn't say وَذَرُوا الشِّرَى. He didn't say leave the buying. He said leave the selling. And you see it like, especially in these days, no one gonna have, I want to buy something. You are bombarded by emails and commerce, everyone buy, right? So the seller who telling you come. So if you stop the seller to go to the dhikr of Allah, then the buyer there been already there. Or those who are late or they don't want to come, they don't have any place where to go but to go to the Jumu'ah. So that's the wisdom in wadarul bay'. So here, which is mean, then bay' wa shira both together. So it's forbidden for someone entitled to be in the Jumu'ah to buy anything at the time of the Jumu'ah. It's haram. Any contract who anyone initiate at that time is forbidden. Why? Because he's supposed to be in dhikrullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. واضح. قال ممن تلزمه الجمعة, from among those who Jumu'ah is an obligation on them. For example, we know in the Sharia, the woman is not an obligation on them, Jumu'ah, for, great consideration, to not burden them, by obligate them to come to the Jumu'ah if they have other, task. Does not mean they should not come. No, they're not obligated. What is the difference? The difference, if the man does not come, he's sinful. If the woman does not come, she's not blamed. If the man comes, he's rewarded. And the woman comes, she's also equally rewarded. Well, that's the difference. So that's why people, they don't close their stores. They leave a woman in the store. Say, you taken why? Because mimman talat al-jumu'ah al-jumu'ah. But that's not right. You understand? Well, you have to understand also the one who's buying is haram for him to buy. So you cannot open to help people who want to violate the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But according to the Nas, mimman talzamu, who everyone who's entitled to observe, that is haram on him. If someone is not entitled, it's not haram. Rather, someone who's not entitled is not haram. To understand the mas'ala of the fiqh. بعد ندائها الثاني, we mention why بعد ندائها الثاني, after the second adhan, if there's two adhan for the Jumu'ah, one to have people to come and together, the second is for starting the khutbah. طيب. قال ويصح النكاح وسائر العقود, and the contract of marriage and any other contract, they are sahih, that will be accepted and sound if they're done on the time of the Jumu'ah. Here, there's a difference of opinion, but also according to the Sharia, the strongest opinion, it's not. Because the answer here, why they exclude any other contract except the selling part, because Allah قال وذروا البيع. So if we look at the ayah, as is mentioned only bay', said what is haram is the bay'. Allah didn't mention the rest, then the rest are halal. But the majority of the scholars said no. The bay' is because it's the most common. And people, because you're going to stop a whole economy at that time, is going to be like closed and devoted to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a community, is a society. So the most apparent at that time, what everyone is busy with, is the commerce. Therefore, any other contract. So the illah here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَسَعُوا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, hasten to the remembrance of Allah. So any other contract also is going to prevent from going to the dhikr of Allah. Therefore, anything prevent you to go to the dhikr of Allah at that time is prohibited. Very simple. Any question?
For example, again, business now, like here, 50% your customers are non-Muslim, 50% Muslim.
I mean, the person who's entitled to pray the Jumu'ah, he need to be in Jumu'ah. He can leave his store open. The one who will be, at the store need to be someone who's not entitled to pray the Jumu'ah. Now they have more, our people, they already find the solution. One go to the first Jumu'ah, the other one go to the second Jumu'ah. Which is like some of the scholars said, you should not have two Jumu'ah. So which is like very special to the society that we live in for us, not in Muslim countries. So that's many of them, they do say, my Jumu'ah is the second one, the other one is the first one. So he comes back and they did it. And it's, according to the evidence, what they're doing is permissible. Because both of them, they attend the Jumu'ah. And they hasten to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any other question?
So, you talked about transaction where there's buying and selling. How about just regular work? People are working and
that's the thing. So that's why the illah, we said, anything that prevents you from hastening to the remembrance of Allah at that time is prohibited. So if someone is at work, he need to have put down his pens or his keyboard or whatever he's doing, and he go to the Jumu'ah. Of course, unless there is other consideration, that's when it comes to the mawana. This is the condition. This is the obligation. But there's something that someone prevents that person, then, to be, studied by case. Just as a conclusion, yes. No. Yeah, that's what I said. The author said yes, it is. Why they said yes? Because in the A is only mentioned the bay'ah, the selling. So they said, therefore, any other contract would be accepted. That's what he said. قال, exactly, he said it the way he said it. قال ويصح النكاح وسائر العقود. And it is accepted, the contract of marriage and all the other and any other type of contract. So he only excluded al-bay'. So here he only excluded the bay' because the bay' is mentioned in the ayah of Surah Al-Jumu'ah. Then the other scholar, the answer, said, here are we going to regard what Allah mentioned in the ayah, or go further to see what was the reason of not selling at the time for Jumu'ah? The reason is to attend the Jumu'ah. So anything for whoever entitled or obligated on him, or the Jumu'ah is obligatory on them, they have to hasten to the dhikr of Allah. Anything that prevents them to go is forbidden. As a conclusion, inshallah, especially for the shurut, قال الشروط is conclusion for the shurut تدور على ثلاثة أشياء. All the conditions that we have studied, it's based on three main conditions. All what we saw, type of food or animals or things, how you have to do this and not to do this. The three, let's say, قواعد, principle, who define all these conditions, three. الظلم, oppressing, transgression. It's haram. Any transaction that it has any slight of dhulm in it, as we saw, that's not accepted. Second, al-gharar. Al-gharar is to try to take advantage of the deal by hiding some of the item description, not be clear, transparent in the price, all of that. So that's al-gharar. This is the second one. First, al-dhulm. Second, al-gharar. Third, al-riba. Transaction that include riba. Okay, and the riba, you take an advantage from a deal that should not have even existed. You taken given borrowing money and take advantage, or given exchange good quality of dates with the bad quality, not bad, with fair quality. Said, yeah, that's part of riba, because it's not determined really. So I said, if you have good quality, sell the good quality, and then with the money of the good quality, or you have fair quality, sell it, and the money of that fair quality, go buy the good quality. So three things: dhulmun, ghararun, riba. Al-gharar is someone delude you. Gharar is like to make you think that you are getting great deal, and in reality is not. Like a Black Friday. That's gharar. They make you think that you're having a great deal. Wallahu a'lam. Few minutes and we'll start the al-qawaid inshallah.